Listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve.
My name's Arnes.
And today we're going over Gammera the Invincible, which is the American edit of the film Gamera.
Came out in
66 is the one we watch.
Yeah.
Not the 65 version. Even though I've seen the 65 version, made Arnes watch the 66 version because America. America.
It's like, I am a real American. Alright, now we just lost 30 subscribers, Steve.
I'm sorry. So we decided to do some Gamera films because, well, it was the 50th anniversary of Gamera, but we decided to do these before we get to the Heisei Godzilla and Mothra movies, or even the Heisei Gamera films.
Taking a break from Godzilla?
Yeah, just for a little breather. Yeah, we get some pretty good movies out of this line. Some not so good.
Oh, God.
But we're going to start with the original.
Is this going to be like the Godzilla where the first movie is good and the second one's just...
Nah, actually, I'll play my cards a little bit. I actually think there's better ones later on.
We'll see.
So it's a little different.
We'll see.
But, anyways, for the plot of this film, there's a few scientists out in the Arctic. Also out in the Arctic is a bunch of planes flying around with atomic bombs in them. They get into a dogfight, crash, unleashes a monster from the Arctic named Gamera, and then Gamera goes to Japan and starts wreaking havoc.
Why Japan? I don't know.
Because that's where all giant monsters go.
Okay. I'm sorry, I give you that one.
God, how many have we watched so far? They all go to Japan. That's how this works.
That poor
We don't
island.
get to the Americas until Destroy All Monsters in 1998 and later on.
That poor island's been destroyed so many times by now.
Yeah, you think like just like being like an economical ruin. How many times I've had to rebuild society?
Oh, that's horrible.
Why would they even rebuild? Why would they just leave? Just literally make that monster island. It's where they all want to be. Just let them have it. And for the simplified plot of this movie that we gave, for the most part, I actually like Gamera. I like the original one over Gammera the Invincible because it's just the plot makes a little bit more sense than they didn't. Because, alright, so for the Japanese, there's not really a whole lot different other than where you could tell watching Gammera the Invincible where they kind of shoehorned in a bunch of American actors and a guy with a bad Russian accent for the UN meetings or whatever they were.
Wait. So you telling me in the Japanese version they don't have my favorite character, the senator?
Yes, they don't have the dick in the original.
Then I'm happy I watched the American version then.
Because essentially they just did this just like in the original 54 movie when it came out stateside. So that it could kind of tie into American audiences a little better. So you actually have some people in there that are speaking English.
This is
without the dubbing.
Oh, okay. So I'm just trying to see why they were trying to put in Americans, you know.
Well, because they were. It's the only film that got a theatrical release stateside from Gamera.
Really?
Yep, only one.
But there's so many good.
All the other ones are definitely made for TV fare. Also made fun of a lot on Mystery Science Theater 3000, which is actually my first introduction to Gamera vs. Gauss. Was watching it on there.
Huh.
Same with Guron. I think I watched Guron on there too. But for the most part, this movie is your general standard monster fare. Monster shows up, monster wreaks havoc, gotta find a way to defeat monster in creative ways.
See, I took that the wrong way though, or the different way. Guy just woke up, and he was grumpy because they woke him up with a nuclear explosion, and he was hungry, he just wanted to eat. What's
but later on in the film, they explained they didn't want to use nuclear weapons on him because it might feed him.
Yeah, exactly.
But they already woke him up with one. You think that was... They would have figured out that he wasn't really eating nuclear radiation.
Yeah,
I decided to eat the tanker that was nearby.
I don't what? I was confused on that part.
Yeah, that's weird. there's a couple of plot holes in this, especially when you're watching.
It's okay, as Steve says.
Science. Yeah, I like in the American too, where they try to explain him as he's from the time of before oxygen. So he's used to eating sulfur and everything, and blah, 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 blah. And he's made up differently. Well, in the Japanese, if I remember correctly, it still ties in a little bit closer to Gamera's original origin story. Some of the weirdest plot points in this movie, because Gamera, especially when you watch the later films, he's the savior of children. Protector, guardian of the universe. He likes kids. Not in a weird way, but he likes kids. In this film, he saves a kid. Kid really likes turtles. I think that's the only reason he saved him, because for the rest of the film, you only see him save one kid, and the kid's like, don't hurt Gamera, he's a good guy. And Gamera's like, there's people in this building, get the fudge out of there. Like when you got the people dancing in the party and everything, and they're like, Gamera's coming, we gotta get out of this party. Like, nah, let's dance. Let's keep dancing.
That was the greatest part of the movie.
And then Gamera shows up and wrecks everybody's day. You get to see Gamera actually kill people. Sets them on fire.
God, he kills a lot of people. What are you talking about?
He murders like freaking everybody in this movie except that one kid. Which is what's going to tie him for the rest of the films as being a good guy. Because he saved one kid.
He saved his fan, man. You don't get a lot of fans. You just got to protect your fans, your groupies.
Okay, I'll give you that because our rangers here, if they were in like a burning building, I'd save you. Everybody else?
Help me. Hear my baby. You're not on my subscriber list.
Actually, did you subscribe?
Get out of the way.
Also want to point out, we would save everybody. Just subscribers have priority.
He's lying.
Yeah. So for that, this movie, it doesn't really work for me. I especially love, too, like, the kid just keeps wanting to go visit Gamera. And when they're doing that mission where they're trying to, like, feed him for the 24 hours before they try to enact their Plan Z, it sounds like Plan Zombie, which I wish they would have done. But anyways, when he's, like, they're sending him, like, the train's full of oil, and the kid, like, hops on. The one guy's like, no, we gotta get the kid off. He hops on the train, tries to get the kid off, and then you just see, like, the kid's just like, no, I gotta go visit Gamera. He's my friend. And then the next scene, you just see Gamera just picking up part of the train. He's like, just whips it. No, I know the kid wasn't on it, but it was just hilarious because that would have just terrified me. When you're just riding on that train, Gamera's just like, fuck this train. The other thing, too, is this movie is lacking a little bit for me in that with Gamera, the scenes with him, it's kind of cool. I do like me some rampaging monsters. But since there's not really him conflicting with anything other than the army, which the army pretty much fails like head over heels for the majority of the part. Except for, there's one scene that I actually thought was pretty creative at the time, was when they go to freeze Gamera, and then they use explosives to tip him over. Even though, you think they would have figured out that he was the one flying around, so that would have maybe clicked in a little bit sooner. Yeah, I actually really loved that scene when I was younger, and I still love it now.
Only thing that bugged me about that scene, he was like, okay, we have exactly 10 minutes. Now, 7 minutes, boys, go. I'm like, what?
5 minutes? I'm sorry! They only got a minute to get away, and that minute takes freaking forever.
I'm like, damn. Time flies by, huh?
Yeah, my favorite thing, too, is they're just, like, standing there making fun of Gamera while he's upside down. He's like, yeah, stupid turtle. You're just gonna sit there and starve. You're gonna be in a biology experiment. Then Gamera's like, screw you guys.
It was funny, too. The doctor was like, it'll take him exactly 1 month to die, too. He knew exactly. He was right on his time on that.
Yeah, but that guy was freaking amazing.
That movie was
on everything. He even thought of the plan of sending him into space.
That movie was very, very scientific, I would say. Like, everything was science.
Sciencey.
Yeah,
even the way they tried explaining Gamera, which is just like, okay, whatever.
He's like, oh, look, this tablet. See these little dwarves? Those were clouds. That's what this was trying to tell us. He can fly.
Dun, dun, dun. You think just everybody at the time was just like... So I kind of wish he just had a little bit more, I guess, screen time. Because he does have like a decent amount of conflicts with the club sequence. You have the airport. You have the refinery. And you also have the train yard. Am I forgetting anything?
The ship.
Oh, yeah, the ship
first
at the
part.
beginning. Yeah.
Like, when he comes out of the ground or the ice, like, how does that, like, snow blowing, like, how did that work, like, when he was coming up? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I imagine it was just, like, the whatever you used for, like, fake snow at the time.
Because I was like, when he was coming up, I was like, how is that possible? I was like, oh, yeah, science. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just radiation wakes up. Didn't kill him. By any means.
Just woke him up.
I just woke him up. So he does have a decent amount of time destroying things, but that's really... It
was more like 80% human scenes and like 20% Gamera, and those 20% that he was in there was like,
yeah, then we only really have them like succeeding once at trying to defeat him. That's pretty much it. But then again, if you think about it, comparing it to the 54, where you really only have him really rampaging, like pretty much walking his way through Tokyo. That's really all you got of Godzilla. So in comparison, it's about the same, to be honest, except you're going to get him like a little bit spread throughout the movie instead of one gigantic scene.
Yeah, because Godzilla just had like one straight line he walked, while this was like different scenes in it and everything.
But then again, Godzilla had tension. Like, Godzilla was more set up to me like a horror movie. but they had like a lot of build up, a lot of suspense for Godzilla. But like with Gamera, you see him in his entirety very early on in the movie, and it's not really a mystery anymore of what's causing these rampages or the destruction that's going on that he's causing. It was more of, hey, Gamera showed up, how are we going to defeat him?
So it's not like the 98 Godzilla where they just see footprints across the island and stuff.
Yeah, you just see like feet here and there. And eventually you get to see him, and then you're depressed. So for the plot, definitely not the best solo monster movie I've seen in terms of just story development, but definitely has some very original concepts into it.
How many other 65 or 66 monster movies that came out that year?
Well, you have like Mothra, who came out in 61. You have Rodan. You have the original Godzilla. You have
We're talking
Baron,
about that year,
the
though.
Mysterians. Well, not that. I don't know about that year. Well, that year you would have had Godzilla versus Monster Zero. One of my more favorite Godzilla movies.
Okay, I'll give you that. That one's a little better than this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, you win that. I'll just.
Yeah. Moving on to the suits. We only have one, which is Gamera, which I actually like him in this movie.
I was gonna say.
I actually think he has a more scary look in this film compared to the rest of the Gamera series. But then again, black and white kind of helps with that in a way.
I like this suit. Like, there was actually nothing wrong with it. It's not like it was bad or anything. There was like some scenes like when he turns, when they're shooting the missiles at him, and he turns like his shell, so to protect him. And as he turns, like you can see he stops, but the shell still goes like back and forth. But that's like the minor things.
There's like some technical difficulties. Like you see, like when he does the fire effect, you actually see like the actual tube in his mouth that the flames are shooting out of.
Or you can see like the gasoline still dripping out and everything.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool because it's kind of like he's drooling in a way. It's very subtle, but you can kind of see like the excess like sludge and stuff kind of hanging off his face, which I thought was cool. It kind of helped to add to his menacing appearance.
They weren't very settled about that too, though, were they?
No, not really. But they got like the flames hide a majority of the times. It's just like certain angles you definitely got a way better look. Actually, you see it a lot more when he's eating the flames, which is kind of like his flamethrower just in reverse. But he just looks like a giant turtle, which is all he really needed to be. I actually like that they added the tusk, which I think is probably his most unique characteristic for me, anyways.
But what does that have to do with him though being a turtle? Like the tusks, like was that telling us that he's from like the Snow Age or something? Like
yeah, mammoths.
So we just put a tusk on you and you'll be from like the
I'll just be like ancient times, man. BC, man. BC.
It works out for me.
Yeah, it's just BC Steve now with tusk. But I don't know if it's just me or like the black and white film kind of gives his suit a little bit more character. I'm not 100% sure if it's actually just for this film. But he seems to have like a lot of like nice details in his face, like with the wrinkling effect and stuff. Kind of like how you get with the Godzilla suit.
Yeah.
Also helps to hide a lot of like the problems that you see in the later colored films.
I would take some of these movies these days in black and white.
I also kind of like his eyes too, like how they're like glossed over.
Oh yeah, now you said that. There was one issue that I had with this movie. Well, there's like two, maybe two. Is like when I don't know for the first or second time he pops out. No, the first time he pops out when he sees the kid. And he pops up, and one of his eyes moves, and the other one just like dead on. I was like, I had to rewind that part. I was like, is he okay? Like, was he having a small seizure?
There's an aneurysm.
I was like, oh, that was bad. But that's like the first time I think when he pops up with the kid, when he goes to destroy the lighthouse and saves the kid or whatever. Yeah,
I feel so bad for whoever the suit actor was inside of that thing.
Why?
That could not have been easy to move around in.
God, probably the back was heavy.
Because you have you have to be like this walking around. And you can kind of tell too when he's like looking at the buildings. Like there's that one scene where he walks into the building. He's literally like smacking the building, but his head's like upright, so he literally looks like this, and he's just like hitting it.
He was practicing karate, man.
Yeah, I know, right? He's just like, not the face. Sissy fighting. Oh, it was amazing. Like I love the sequence where he's actually going through like destroying things. And I guess without transitioning into the effects and the props. So overall, this movie's got a lot of very nice spectacle. Like when he's like rampaging through like the refinery or the city, there's a lot of explosions, a lot of destruction. And you get to like they even try to interject like people inside of the destruction with like the green screen kind of effect. But I always like those little subtle touches. Also, like the effect where Gamera's like flamethrowing the building, and then you see the people. They're like, "No!" And then it like transitions into like white screen, like it went to like a negative.
You're pointing out all the bad stuff about him, Steve. He's a murdering, rampaging guy.
Yeah, he wasn't a very nice kaiju in this movie.
He was supposed to be a
Other than
good
he saves
guy.
the one kid, the rest of the time he's just rampaging and causing destruction. I also like too the one effect that when I was younger I didn't really notice it, but when I'm older it starts to bother me a little bit. Is when he's flying around, it's literally just a drawing. Did you notice that? Especially when he like flies at the control tower at the airport, and you just see giant hand-drawn Gamera just going woo over the top of the building. It's just like, huh.
That was like one of my favorite parts of the movie, is him flying. It was so horrible, especially like when he crawls like into his body.
Yeah.
And everybody was like laughing at him, like, ah, ha, ha.
Going into the shell, and then fire flames come out, and they're like, oh. That's new.
And it's so hilarious too, because you can see like the spark that started the gasoline. It was like a lighter.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty much, they're like those little like model rockets.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Like it was, like you can see it. The fire starts. He starts spinning, and it just goes into drawing him flying out.
Whee! It just spins around. Oh, that's great. Okay, so I guess the one sequence I always had a problem with, even though it was kind of cool, but just how they did it was weird, is the final, when they finally put Plan Z into effect, and they get Gamera into the spaceship, and he counts down from 10 to 0, and then the ship, when they bring it up, it closes up, and then it reveals that it's an even bigger spaceship. Because I thought initially, like, especially when I was younger, it was just like the tube, and they're just going to shoot the tube into space, call it a day. Nah, it took down to a normal spaceship, but the spaceship, like, literally, like, comes up really quick, spreads apart, and then launches. I don't know why, I never really cared for that sequence, how they did it. Because when you watch, like, a normal spaceship lift off, that's not how it works.
Alright, I'm gonna say something, but you're not gonna believe me, though. Size.
Oh! Also, how big would that spaceship have to be?
Yeah, because
it fit Gamera into it, and then still had more to it. Like, that thing had to be gigantic.
Oh,
how did
man.
they build that?
That should have been like...
They built it in like 24 hours.
So, like, okay, so the Gamera is what? Like, bigger than the buildings are.
I want to say original Gamera is somewhere around 50 meters, like Godzilla.
Oh my god, that thing had to be huge when you think about it.
Yeah, so Gamera is like in the 150-foot range.
Yeah.
And then the dome that he's in has to be bigger than that.
And like,
the spaceship has to be even bigger than that.
Oh.
And in comparison, like, it was probably like about 5 or 6 of those little bulbs that Gamera's in makes up the rest of the ship.
So, in a logic, that would have broke every single country budget right there just to build that thing.
But also they made it in like 24 hours.
That's what I mean. Like, every country in the world would be like broke building that ship.
You know what? Just science. Science, we're moving on.
I'm sorry.
So in the end, Gammera the Invincible, it's a fine movie. Overall, plot works for me. I actually really like Gammera in this being a little bit more on the destructive side, and not just being the savior of children. Even though he does save the one kid, it doesn't really quite work for me in this movie. But overall, the rampage and destruction, and the uniqueness of trying to take out the kaiju kind of makes it a worthwhile watch.
I still wish there was other monsters in there, but
yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess, right?
Okay, next week, we're going to get to a monster that has a very confusing name. Because he has the same name, well, almost the same name as the Godzilla monster. They also look a lot alike. But anyways, what did you guys think? Let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Gammera. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe, become a ranger today. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.